Well, thank you so much for inviting me tonight, and thank you to everybody for sharing everything you've shared so far. It's very inspiring and heart-touching to see the vulnerability, to see the creativity. If you're here tonight, it means somebody personally said, I'd like you to be here. I'd like to see you. And I think that's so special, especially in the culture that we find ourselves in, where everything is commercialized. And especially when we're living at a time where 1 out of 2 Americans are lonely. 1 out of 2 Americans feel lonely, but the culture doesn't realize it. It's like there's a shame associated with it. It's like not having time for lunch at work and wondering why you're hungry, like you shouldn't be hungry. And it's unhealthy. It's why I call it a silent epidemic, because now there's a lot of research that shows that it's unhealthier than smoking 15 cigarettes per day. It's more unhealthy than obesity and so many other conditions. And you would think, and it's true, that we have to be mindful of our elderly, because the centenarian population, those over 100, is the fastest growing segment of the population. But women over 75 years old who aren't in nursing care, 40% of them live alone, and sometimes go as long as a month without seeing anybody at all. But oddly, that's not the loneliest generation in America. It goes backwards from the elderly to children. Children are the most lonely in America today, which means somehow we've created a new paradigm of psychosocial distance where everybody is susceptible to mental illness because of the disconnection. Companionship and belonging is just as important as like oxygen and food. But anyways, when I think about transitions, one of the best or nicest metaphors that I'm aware of is the trapeze swings. And we're either swinging on one bar or hurtling in the space between 2 swings. Most of our time is spent holding on, maybe for dear life, to the bar that we happen to be attached to at the moment. And you might be swinging along, maybe merrily, maybe unmerrily. And then at some point in the distance, you see an empty bar coming your way. And somewhere in that place that knows, you know your name is on that bar. And that bar represents the next step in your growth, your becoming, or the next stage of your aliveness. But there's fear and there's uncertainty. And there's this prayer that maybe I can grab that before I have to let go of the other one. But again, in your heart of hearts, you know you have to release completely the bar that you're on to really take hold of this new one. And to resist that can't work. At some point, staying on the bar that you are is no longer one of the alternatives. So there it goes, hurtling through space. And culturally, this is the transition. But we see that space as like a non-space, as like a no thing, as a something to avoid. And we do whatever we can to avoid the void. But I think that that space is probably more real than the 2 bars. The bars represent the illusions that we create, even though we go from bar to bar, and we think that you need to be swinging to have something real happening. But it's actually the void where we're more real, we're more alive. And the hallmark of this space is uncertainty. And it's terrifying to have uncertainty, and the brain hates uncertainty because we've probably evolved in such a way that any biocognitive system that could reject that could survive longer, maybe. I mean, like sitting and contemplating the stars and losing yourself didn't really make you safe, didn't really make that system safe. But we miss out on something when we live that way. Now, the uncertainty, I can assure you is more stressful than our worst fears. There was an experiment done with a computer and rocks on this computer, and subjects would come up to the computer and they have to click on one of the rocks. And when they flip over the rock or move the rock by clicking on it with the mouse, there's either a snake underneath there, a digital snake, or nothing. But if there's a snake, the subject is hooked up to an electrode and they get a shock, a painful shock. And after some time of doing this, they start to learn that there's some patterns. Certain rocks definitely have a snake under it. Certain rocks definitely don't have a snake under it. But there's still some rocks that they're not sure about. All the while, the researchers are studying their stress levels. They're monitoring the level of dilation in the pupils and sweat from the glands in the palms. And it turns out that the most stressful the subjects get is when they don't know if there's a snake or not. Even knowing they're going to get shocked is less stressful than the possibility that maybe they're going to be okay. And this is what uncertainty is all about. But I'm here to tell you tonight that uncertainty is really a gift. And we ought to slow down these transitions. You ought to give yourself the opportunity to really hurdle through that space between the bars, because in the real trapeze artistry, that is the magic, not just the swinging. What happens in between the bars is what it's all about. Okay? And so if we can slow down the smaller transitions, you will meditatively be prepared for the bigger transitions in life. And I say uncertainty is a gift because when we're certain, or when we convince ourselves we're certain, all we're really doing is closing our mind. You know, everybody is certain about their political beliefs. They're certain about their religious beliefs. They're certain about the solutions to our cultural problems. Well, if everybody is completely certain, then there's no reason to talk. There's no conversation to be had. So uncertainty is a gift. As an addiction counselor, among the many different things that I do, I know that a patient has the best chance in recovery when they simply say, I don't know. I don't know if I will want to be sober again, if I'll want to use again. And therefore, I'll do whatever I can to put myself in better environments and seek out support and humble myself, because I don't know. I don't know what the brain's going to do. I don't know what the next thought's going to be any more than the next thing you're going to say, Todd. So uncertainty is a powerful ally, really. And if you want to get better at this, and if you want to prepare for the major transitions of life, which are always coming, there is always another swing on its way, whether we're ready or not. But if we got better at slowing down the daily transitions, nature goes through transitions all the time, but we miss it because of our fast-paced society and the cult of busyness, where being busy is now like a status symbol. 100 years ago, to flaunt your freedom and leisure would be more of a thing. And so, like, take the points of the day where there's a shift. In ancient times, people would meditate at sunrise and sunset because those were transitions. Those were symbols of the void. And by doing that consistently, people already knew how to be when the void approached. The word for sunrise or sunset in Sanskrit, one of the oldest languages on the planet, is the same word, sandhya, because the sky looks exactly the same. But it's a compound word for samyak dhyana. Dhyana means meditation. It meant the good time for meditation. And I once heard a blind man say he loves sunrise and sunset. I thought that was strange. I'm like, what do you love about it? He loves to listen to the sunset. As the day sounds go down and the animals and the birds get quiet, then the night sounds lift up. And he knows when the sunset is. We don't even know with vision because we're too busy. We can't even see with our eyes that work. And so if we got better at slowing those transitions down, and not just in nature, people don't just go to sleep. They fall asleep. You know, they don't just get home from work. They take their work everywhere. They don't take time for themselves. They don't take care of their health. They put themselves last. They don't reach out to people they love. They don't practice gratitude. They just race through every transition. So I'd like to bring my part to a conclusion by actually practicing the way to get better at slowing things down. And maybe if you haven't meditated before, we'll do just some simple practice together. And take a moment to feel yourself, feel your body in your space. Notice the points of contact between your body and the cushion and the floor. And then notice some of the parts of our body where we tend to store tension. If your tongue is pressed against the roof of your mouth, try to relax it, maybe place it behind your upper teeth. Let your jaw relax. Let your shoulders go towards the floor. They keep coming further up towards our ears in stress. Let your arms hang from your sides like heavy curtains. Relax your hands wherever feels comfortable. Notice any tightness in your stomach. Relax with each exhalation. Then calmly bring your attention to your breathing. Notice the sensation of air flowing in and out without changing anything. Just observe. Notice how your body expands and contracts however it naturally wants to. No forcing anything. Next, listen to the sound of your breathing. Watch. The breath is the trapeze swing. You see that rhythm? Back and forth. Now slowly take a longer, deeper inhalation and then hold your breath. We're in the void. Slowly exhale. The next swing. Finally, allow yourself to let go of the swing. Don't pay attention to your breath anymore. Let go of thoughts. They may be there, but we're not holding on to anything anymore. The word transition comes from Latin word transitio, which meant to cross over. Ultimately, we cross over by fully committing to the new way of being. And that takes a letting go, a shedding, as you described. And so, in the past, we had access to the cultural wisdom for getting through transitions. There are life transitions. There were 4 stages in ancient Hindu Vedic culture. There were 4 stages of life in Native American culture. The first one was infancy, and it ended when the small child could talk. So it's not like on 6th birthday, childhood's over. No, the parents, the elders would look for the signs. Even the word infant means unable to speak, enfant, French. And so I wish you all the best with whatever your void you're crossing over. And it's okay to seek out the wisdom of people who may be on a swing that's somewhere beyond where you are. We don't have easy access to it like we used to in the past. We have to seek it out. We're all like cultural orphans in that way. But the wisdom is still there. And I thank you for sharing the space tonight. I look forward to continue getting to know you, and hopefully we can all stay in touch and keep building this community. And thanks to those who put this together. It's such a beautiful, beautiful concept to share art, share space, share our hearts. We need more of it. So thank you, everybody.